Friends, very happy morning to all of you. We have gathered on a fine Sunday morning. We thought we'll have something to munch on the morning, the breakfast time, the future of work and CA profession. I have great pleasure in welcoming our CA V Pattabhi Ram sir, who is one of my favorite teachers and also an author of so many books, one on nightingales and what is the other one? And a few good men. I'm seeing my library shelf and telling that. In fact, the future of work, the future of profession are going to change, as I told you in the last few meetings. Even if it was not COVID, it would have taken a little longer time. Now it's due to COVID, it is going to take some short time. And I was reading a book on future of profession, which is a lot of things have already changed. They were giving the example of a coffee blender who were in so high demand, the technology took over and they were all jobless on one fine day. Lawyers are facing the same problem and accountants are on the hit list. So it is high time we kind of, adopt or adapt to the changes which we see around. I remember a small joke mentioned in the book that a mother who was with a grown-up who wanted to seek some help started shouting, "My son, the doctor is drowning." So probably somebody who should be helping somebody is now getting a help. So we have to be careful with the way things are going. So we'll be able to listen to our beloved speaker Pattabhi Ram and how to take things forward or how we should kind of adopt or adapt to this situation. I have also great pleasure in welcoming CA Panaraj sir, who is the chairman of the Ethical Standards Board of SARC of IC and also the Public Finance Management Committee. Also with me joining is Sri Abhishek Murli from Chennai. Before I request Sri Abhishek to formally introduce the speaker, I request Sri Panaraj sir to kindly address the gathering and share his thoughts.
Good morning all, and thank you and congratulate you, the chairman, for having a program of this kind, because we have been, there are complaints from the members that they are too much overloaded with the webinars on traditional subjects. Maybe wider subjects are covered, but still we are in such a situation where sustainability is at threat, especially for those in practice, and more so for the practitioners in smaller places, that is SMPs in official places. And that should be same even for SMP, small and medium practitioners in metros also. So I was very, very happy to be part of the orientation program, 2 days that was conducted by the institute, wherein one of the topics which was very, very close to my heart was covered, that is sustainable development, sustainability in the environment. So that sustainable development goals are published by the UN in 2015 itself. I have been talking in public forums about those sustainable goals. Nobody was listening to that. I was so thrilled to see that topic being part of the orientation program in CA, and also they have stressed upon the branches to take forward those programs here. So sustainability is the most important factor in this era, very fast changing era. So even sustainability applies to our profession also. We have been seeing tremendous changes, but we have not given a lot of thought on that. But thanks to COVID, wherein we are looking at the chances of survival and the modes of expansion of professional opportunity and all. So under these circumstances, a very innovative intellect and very with a good intent, he has been contributing to our profession. Mr. Pattabhi has been the right person for this occasion, because everybody speaks only on traditional matters, and we are stuck in traditional practices wherein we have to move forward. And I have seen, as a secretary of the branch in Bellary around 2006 or so, I watched a talk by Pattabhi on financial management for family. It was very impressive, even though, of course, I did not follow it, being very busy in public life at that time. But it was very, very impressive. I still remember your talk, sir. So thank you for accepting this invitation to talk here on this day. your the intellectual capabilities are used for compassionate things like creating awareness in the chartered accountants fraternity is most acceptable and most heartening for all of you, all of us. So I would like to mention one more thing before I close my remarks. Uh, this is a time where the institute has committed 21 crore rupees to CARES fund through president of the institute, and there are demands from most of the official practicing chartered accountants to help them from the institute out of the corpus as a temporary loan or subsidy. Like there are issues in Karnataka that some of the opposition parties have raised voice with the government to provide 25 crore to advocates. The messages are coming as a prelude or as a matter to be considered by the institute also. So this is I have been seeing for the first time this one, and the very impression for the students that is given once you become a chartered accountant, you will be able to earn 1 lakh, 2 lakh per month and all are at stake now, and the very sustainability is under question. And especially if at all I have enjoyed anything in this profession, I have enjoyed both economic independence as well as my independence of timing. I have been in so many other activities, including contesting assembly elections. So that freedom was given only because I could get only because of the economic independence I had through the chartered accountancy profession, which is at stake during this time. So under these circumstances, when the institute is offered 21 crore to the government, and members are asking the institute for their help. So this is the paradoxical situation. Under these circumstances, none other than Pattabhi Ram would be the person who will be able to do justice to the apprehensions and the uncertainty that is being faced by our profession, especially those who are in practice. So with this, I am very, very happy to be part of this program, especially because it is Pattabhi sir's inspiration that has made me to take up some extra ventures in my public life also. So that is what beyond the profession, he has very great contributions that he has made, authoring the books also, and as a great teacher. I was a student of R. Shivkumar sir. I did not have the opportunity of being your student, sir. So I think most probably we are of same age. I am now 60, and R. Shivkumar sir was my teacher till date. I remember him, and you have very judiciously replaced him, especially for costing paper, as a great teacher. Thank you for accepting this, and we are all waiting for your knowledge to be shared, and your guidance to be followed in the days to come and in these difficult days. Thank you all. Thank you, one and all.
Thank you. Thanks, Nalad sir. Thank you so much. Thanks for sharing wonderful thoughts. Thanks for sharing your age. We wish Pattabhi Ram also shares his age.
No, I have not shared. I didn't agree with him.
I want you to share. Abhishek, over to you for the interaction. If there is a element of age, please tell that to everybody.
Thank you all viewers for joining in today. Thank you, Dynamic Chairman, C. Dungarchan Jain. Thank you, my fellow council member, for a very, very wonderful introduction, C.A. Pannaraj sir, who's joining us live from Bellary. And of course, thank you to our speaker, C.A. V Pattabhi Ram sir, for joining us today. He is the apt person to speak about this topic, and I have the privilege of introducing him. C.A. Pattabhi Ram is a chartered accountant by profession and qualification, and a writer by passion, and a teacher by accident. After a brief stint in industry where he worked in corporate finance, capital markets, and management accounting functions, he shifted to full-time CA practice. In these several years, he has also been into journalism, writing for various newspapers, magazines on repute of various contemporaneous issues. He co-authored First Lessons in Strategic Financial Management, textbook for CA final student, and other 4 books he has written include A Few Good Men and a maiden novel, Ticking Times. He also speaks at various seminars, workshops on matters of long-term consequences. And I should also add, he was my teacher in both my inter and my final exams, and his way and style of presentation is so amazing that very often I used to stop taking notes. I'll just be listening to him, I used to come back home, then only realize I have not taken notes at all. So he's got a very beautiful style of presentation, very articulate. In fact, regularly he was the sought after person when GST was introduced. Whenever these union ministers used to come and address in Chennai, he used to be the one who will give the introduction always to the economic matters and the overall bird's eye perspective. And listening to him is a treat and joy. And of course, being my teacher, it's a privilege to introduce him. Thank you so much, Pattabhi sir, for joining us today and spending your valuable time with us. Thank you for here. The screen is yours.
Thank you, Abhishek.
Thanks, Abhishek. Sir, please, sir. Take it forward, sir, please.
Is my screen visible? Is my
Yes,
screen
sir.
visible?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Visible?
Yeah, visible.
What do you read there?
The
Future of work
work.
presentation. V
Okay,
Pattabhi Ram.
thank you. Thank you. Good morning to all of you. Lovely being here on a Sunday morning to touch base with so many of you cutting across different locations. When mankind finally wins its battle against this invisible virus, COVID, the way that we do work, the way that we do business, and the way that we learn and interact will be dramatically different. We're already seeing some trailer of this. COVID-19, while completely unpleasant and perhaps the worst thing to happen to this world after the Spanish flu and possibly the first war post the Second World War, while COVID-19 is possibly one of the worst things to have happened to this world, it's also opened up dimensions. Look how facilely educational institutions in particular have moved online. A breed that historically was closeted, a breed that historically was conservative, has today seamlessly moved online. And this is the shape of things to come. I'm going to split my talk today into three parts. In part one, I'll speak to you about the things that have happened in the last 25 years, between 1995 to date. And that's to give you a broad perspective about how the thing was. In the second part, I'll speak to you about how the workplace is going to look like in the future, in the 2020s and the 2030s. I'm going to talk to you about 6 landmark features of Workplace 2030. I also want you to understand, realize, and appreciate that even as I use the phrase 2030, what I mean is really speaking tomorrow. 2030 can happen much, much faster than what we have bargained for. In the third and concluding part, I'll speak about what are the kind of skill sets that are required to win in the workplace. And while largely I have industry in mind to define workplace, I would believe, I would trust that if the audited accounting profession is to make the kind of meaning that it has historically made in the past, if it will have to test the spread of time, it will also have to fall in place the way industry is going to. First, let me talk to you about what I call a slice of history. You'll have to forgive me for dipping deep inside. Many of these things are known to you, but I thought an emphasis here would be in place. I roughly guess that 1995 or thereabout was the time that internet came to this world. I do today know that an entire generation has grown up breakfasting on internet. But to people of my generation, what I will call the transitionary generation, the generation that first grew up pre-internet and the generation that sought to make its career post-internet, the internet has been an extraordinary finding. It's been as phenomenal, as what the fire was once upon a time, what wheel as in transportation was once upon a time, what currency or money did to the world. If there is one thing that future historians would write as being the landmark event of the last 5,000 years, it would be the internet. Today, it is the internet that actually allows all of us sitting in different parts of the world, cutting across countries and continents, to seamlessly come together and, more importantly, work together. While I would not like to talk to you about personal developments, I would like to tell you that in the course of the last 5 years, many of the writing works that I have done have been collaborative in nature. They have been done by people who sit in different parts of the world. Of course, they have all been chartered accountants from India. Someone who is in, say, London in England, someone who is in Dubai in UAE, someone who is in Switzerland, someone who is in Bangalore, someone who is as far away as in Johannesburg. We've all sat together, worked together, first minus video, and later 2 years back when Zoom became popular to some extent, we started on that. I'll move on to the second thing. 2005, Google. I'll tell you why Google is remarkable. Not that you don't know, but I'll give you a sense of history, a sense of perspective. I'll again tell you a story. This one is from my school days. When I was in class 7, and mine was a school that each class had only about 20 students. When I was in school in class 7, we had this discussion as to what is the capital of the United States of America. 17 of us 20 knew that New York was the capital of USA. One guy thought Washington, D.C. is the capital, and 2 guys did not know. So we decided that that morning, in the geography class, we'll ask our geography teacher. That day, our geography teacher was absent. So our arts teacher came. Arts means the guy who teaches you drawing. And we asked our arts teacher, which is the capital of the US? And he said, Washington, D.C. is the capital. 17 of us, 85% of the class, myself included, had a hearty laugh. I went back home that evening, told my dad, Dad, here is an arts teacher who does not know the capital of the US. No wonder he is only teaching drawing. He thinks that Washington, D.C. is the capital of USA. My father said, why don't you take a look at the atlas? He's not a guy who gives an answer straight away. I dipped into the atlas, and to my horror of horrors, I realized that I was wrong. My teacher was right. Washington, D.C., in fact, was the capital of the United States of America. What is the moral of the story? The moral of the story is simple. To me, those years back, it took me 12 hours, and luckily we had an atlas. It took me 12 hours to convince myself that Washington, D.C. is in fact the capital of the US. Today, all that you need is a smartphone. All that you need is Professor Google, whom you can click to get to know which is the capital. Today, knowledge is available, as people say, on the click of a button. In fact, Abhishek introduced me as someone who teaches. In fact, in my classroom, it's an acceptable practice that people will carry smartphones in. It's an acceptable practice that people can Google, because I have made it very clear to them that information that can be Googled has to be Googled. Nobody is to ask me what is the currency of Singapore. He is to Google and find out. Nobody is to ask me which is the currency of the United States. He's supposed to Google and find out. But a student has every right to ask me, why is a dollar quoting at rupees 75? Why is a rupee not quoting at 75? Because that's an answer that Google can never give. So Google has today become our playmate. It's become our friend, philosopher, guide, available 24/7. Email has been the next great invention. 1996 again, email. The first time when I sent an email to a institute in Hyderabad, in whose magazine I used to write cover stories. And when the guy said, "Hey, your mail has been received," I was thrilled. In a fraction of a time, it had gone in. Today's generation would say, "Hey, what? So what?" Today, email is very 20th century. There's so many other developments that have actually taken place. Fourth one is social media. Mark Zuckerberg. No, for the rest of my life, I don't think I can forget Mark, the man with the unpronounceable name. People of my generation have always wanted to get connected, get in touch with our classmates at school, classmates at college. It was just not possible until Facebook came in. Today, Facebook is also used by many people in order to get work done. Today, the first shot of most people to gather information is from the social media, not television, which is increasingly getting extremely biased, not newspaper, because newspapers are dated. Last but definitely not the least, mobile. We are a very fortunate country, a country of 130 crores, where the density of mobile penetration is huge, so huge that today most people do transactions online. More importantly, domestic helps pick their salaries online. The internet, the Google, the email, the social media, the mobile. Forgive my saying, these are all old hat. This is just a trailer of the shape of things to come. As Shah Rukh Khan very famously said in a movie, "Picture abhi baki hai," which means that what you're going to see in the days ahead is going to be tsunami. What you're going to see in the days ahead is going to be something phenomenal, and we need to get prepared ourselves for that. In this context, I'll quickly run you through what I think are the mega trends. This is going to affect not just the workplace. It's going to affect not just industry. It's going to affect not just the banking, financial services, and insurance sector. Because the whole world around us is changing, it's also going to affect how the audit and accounting function works. While I have no intention to dipping deep to try tell you what you must do in your profession, I have every intention of dipping deep and telling you what changes are going to take place. Automation, artificial intelligence, and micro innovation are going to be the three most important trends in the world. Yesterday, I did a conversation, a fireside chat with the heads of one of India's largest known BPOs. And he told me that a whole lot of work that accountants today take for granted, 60% of the work that accountants today do manually, are all going to get automated. They're also going to be done with the help of robots. These are some jobs that are going to exist. Call center employees, they're going to go off. Data entry operators, once the Internet of Things happen, data entry operators are going to be off. Insurance underwriters are dead and gone. Bots are going to take its place, and bots have already begun to take its place. Sorry to say, if someone in our profession is into tax preparation, that era is gone. Sales reps jobs are also going to go up in smoke as increasingly more people dive deep into the net to collect information. Translator, one of the highly paid jobs today, is also likely to disappear. Google is going to do a lot of translation work. Today, Google's translation work is in a very primitive stage. You just have to translate from Tamil to English, or from Hindi to English, or from English to Tamil to realize how primitive Google is, how primitive Facebook's translations are. But trust me, this is going to change. And in the next 5 years, you will see translations taking place remarkably well. Fast food employees are already gone. Employees in the burger joints have gone. Cashiers have gone. You drop money, you pick up your food, you have. These are some examples of jobs that are exiting. Some jobs that I think, and I could be wrong because I could be biased, but some jobs that are going to stay, largely because they involve direct connect with individuals, are going to be jobs of psychiatrists. In the world of tomorrow, there are going to be issues. There are going to be trouble spots. There are going to be hot spots. And psychologists and psychiatrists are going to play a key role in setting things right. Master storytellers, the movie moguls who write outstanding film script, I think they're going to stay. I do know automation is working in a very big way. For example, today there is a software called Grammarly, which does remarkable work of copy editing. It improves your writing in a manner you never thought it was possible. People are today telling that there are software that can help people write stories, but that I think is a long, long way away. Psychiatrists are going to stay, storytellers are going to stay, world-class teachers are going to stay, scientists are going to stay, actors are going to stay, thought leaders are going to stay, because these are all roles that need innovative skills. If you're an innovative auditor, if you're an innovative accountant, if you're an innovative forensic expert, your job will stay. But every other piece of work in our profession, every other piece of work, vouching, capex matching, purchase order vetting, all of this is going to be automated. And workforce in office environment, including in our existing firms, will come down by half. And that's because we will have to invest in technology. I also foresee a situation where everybody and their uncle can't invest in technology. And therefore, somebody would invest in technology big time. And there will be people like you and I who will go into that company to pick technology on a hire and use basis, on a pay and use basis. And therefore, we might, as some of the thought leaders in our profession are talking about, we might see a Uberization of the profession, where a client goes to Mr. X for audit. Mr. X has 20 people, 20 audit firms around him, and he hands out work. I'm not saying that accounting firms are going to become driver partners to a big Uber, but I'm saying that is a distinct possibility. Let me move on. Let me try to tell you that artificial intelligence is not something that's going to happen only in the future. Artificial intelligence is already here. Here are 5 quick examples. Google Maps tell you how long it will take to go from place A to place B. I'm extremely bad in my driving. I'm extremely bad in knowing which place is where. But Google Map tells me with remarkable accuracy how to go from my place to another place, how to move from place A to place B, which is the best traffic lane to move on, how much time it will take to reach there. And all of this, it tells us with 99% accuracy. That's an example of artificial intelligence or AI at work. Take Gmail. Gmail filters 99.9% of spam. I'm a guy who has a lot of time in my hand, generally, always, right through my career. I've always found that I have time on my hand. Occasionally, what I do is that I go into my spam, maybe once a month, when there are some, 30 to 300, 9,000 spams there or 5,000 spams there. I quickly scan through. And out of 9,000 spams, I find that there is only 1 or 2 items which is not a spam. That's why I said there Gmail filters 99.999% of spam and an unbelievable accuracy. That's artificial intelligence at work. The graduate record exam, GRE, grades essays using a robo. Banks use machine language to assess credit score. No intervention of teachers, no intervention of invigilators, even in evaluating essay type questions. And that's going to the future of valuation. I mean, future of evaluation. That's also going to be the future of invigilation. That's also going to be the future of examination, where people are going to take exams anywhere, anytime, sitting at any part of the world. Right from long back, from the time that I used to play chess at the school state level, chess players have used AI-powered engines to analyze their games. I still remember Gary Kasparov being beaten by Deep Blue, and it made such a deep impression on Kasparov that 20 years later, he's written a book called Deep Blue and tells us how scandalized he was, how traumatized he was when he lost to Deep Blue. Last example of artificial intelligence being there, a Boeing flight from New York to Tokyo, 14 hours of flying time, requires just 7 minutes of human handling. 14 into 6 is 840 minutes of flying time. 7 minutes of that, that's about 1%, alone is by human intervention. Rest is all automated. Nobody tells you that. The pilot doesn't tell you that. In fact, you don't even need a pilot. But I think many of us will get scared boarding a flight which does not have a pilot. And I guess that's perhaps one of the very few reasons as to why pilots are still there aboard an aircraft. I'm now going to move to micro innovation. I talked about automation. I talked about artificial intelligence. I'll now speak on micro innovation very briefly. All the innovation that will come in the future, most of them are going to be old hat. Most of them are going to happen with technology that is already available. It only needs an innovator to piece them together. Uber was an offshoot of GPS. Uber does not discover anything new. All that Uber and Ola did was that they identified clientless drivers with driverless passengers. They interconnected the two. Technology played a big game. There is therefore a feeling, and I personally subscribe to that Uber and Ola are not really transport companies, they're actually technology companies. I know the courts have not agreed to this, but my own sense is that they are technology companies. They are not necessarily cab companies, because tomorrow they could actually connect a client with an audit firm. And this was the context in which I earlier spoke about the Uberization of the profession. Take WhatsApp. There was nothing new about WhatsApp. SMS was always there. All that WhatsApp did was that it took SMS to the next level. The future will not be about reinventing the wheel. You could be a star in the future. To become a star in the future, you don't have to do anything outstandingly new. You'll have to get to know what is there in the present, tinker it around, bring out a great product that people have been waiting for. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm done with my first part, where I wanted to talk to you about the mega trends. I'll now move on to my next part, where I'll speak to you about how Workplace 2030 is going to look like. And let me tell you, Workplace 2030 can happen faster. And if COVID-19 has done anything, it's only accentuated this reality. I must also tell you something. Whatever I'm talking to you today is not just an outcome of my thought. 2 years ago, in 2018, for a quasi-government organization, part government, part private, I did a consulting work, and we came out with a document that talked about the future of work. In that, we spoke to 120 people in the world of technology. We spoke to 30 people in industry. We spoke to people in academia, and we had one-on-one interviews. And what we are talking about, what we are talking today is an outcome of that effort. Workplace 2030 is going to be mobile. Employees are going to be scattered across physical locations, but they're going to be connected via the internet. I told you how I do my writing work. That's exactly how companies are working. That's exactly how more companies are going to work. And work from home, which has become such a big phrase in the last 90 days, I believe, I hope, is going to be the future. Already TCS is talking about earmarking 30% of their employees to work from home. I do not know, I'm not sure, but I'm hearing that the government is talking about 33% of IAS officers to work from home. Facebook has already gone on record, and Google has also gone on record saying that when they open up in July for the next 1 year, that means until March 2021, bulk of the people will work from home. Working from home, mobile working is going to be the order of the day. There's going to be an organizational flux, and I want you to understand this. Our customers are no longer going to talk to bosses. Customers are going to talk with people who actually do the work. To give you an example, today your client might be talking to the director of your organization or might be talking to the senior audit manager, and then it percolates down. In the world of tomorrow, the client is not going to talk to the senior audit manager. He's going to talk straight to the guy who is doing the actual work. If someone is doing a capital expenditure audit, he'll speak direct to the guy who is doing the capital expenditure audit. What does it mean for us? It means for us that every guy in your company, in your firm, will be a client-facing employee. And therefore, some of the skills that everybody in the organization will have to pick is how to deal with clients. 3, organizations are going to be increasingly networked. Companies are going to get leaner and flatter. Fresh guys who come out of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India must therefore be customer-centric. New guys that you pick maybe from engineering because you want them to work on technology must all be customer-centric. They must all be focused on the customer. Not every part of the value chain is going to be owned by a company. Different parts of the value chain might be owned by different people. That can also happen in audit, though I don't want to get down to their details. I spoke to you about 3 things: mobile workforce, organizational flux, and network data. I move on to my next 3. Digital transformation. 2 skills are going to be very important. Content creation. Today, everything is available on the net. What kind of content you can create as an audit firm, as a knowledge band, is going to be critical. And how do you personalize content to monetize them is going to be equally critical. And this is true for audit firms as well. Let me give you an example of what I mean by personalization. Today, when I get a promo from Ola and I don't want to travel, I pass it on to DC. I pass it on to our chairman, DCJ. He tries to use it on his mobile because Ola has made it clear that they have personalized it for me, for my mobile. Like that, how much of the information that you can send to clients are personalized is very, very important. I also think that as we go forward, one specialization is not going to be enough. Today, GST might be a hot proposition. 2 years from today, it's going to be another, what should I say, Janata experiment. Something that's fine-tuned, refined, completed. And there is going to be no great action for you on GST except to fill in routine forms, which automation is going to take care of. I don't know what is going to be hot 3 years from today. Let's, for argument's sake, assume that a version of IFRS for SMEs is going to be hot. You must be able to quickly specialize yourself into that. The era of serial specialization has begun. I cannot say that I'm a specialist in corporate finance and that I will not move on to something else when that something else becomes hot. I can choose to do that, but I'll be left behind in the race. Last important thing in the workplace is that most jobs will be freelancers. 50% of jobs people believe are going to be done by freelancers. In my grandfather's time, people joined a company, stayed in that company forever. In my dad's time, people joined a company, changed companies max 3 times during their career. In my generation, maybe 7 or 8 shifts were taking place. In tomorrow's generation, a guy will work in multiple companies at the same time. Morning he works for Infosys, afternoon he works for somebody else, evening he works for a third firm. Morning he works in your audit firm, afternoon he works for some other audit firm, evening he might work for a client. I'm not shooting in the dark. These are things that are already begun to happen, and these are going to become mainstream. I'm done with the second part, Workplace 2030. I'll go to my third part, where I talk to you about 6 skills. 6 skills that are important in the context of industry, 6 skills that are important in the context of service sector, 6 things that are very, very important in the context of professional accounting and audit firms. I might not have made it very specific to audit firms because I think that all of this apply to audit firms. All of this apply to accounting firms. And I think accounting and audit firms must be in sync with industry. We cannot work the way that we worked in the past. The days when the client stood up when an auditor walked in, the days when the auditor was not just respected but even feared is now gone. Is now gone. That's no offense on the audit setup. It's happening everywhere. It's happening in teaching. It's happening in audit. It's as a new generation comes up, you will see that these trends are changing. As generation I, the generation after the millennials, the children of the millennials grew up, you will increasingly find that knowledge is going to be secondary. What is far more important is how creatively can you think. In my generation, if I were to sit in a group discussion and say, let's talk about cars that fly, people would have laughed their heads off. Today, in a meeting in the automobile industry, if you're not talking about cars that fly, then you have no business to be there. Whatever was once upon a time science fiction is today a reality. Once upon a time when I was growing up, I used to tell myself, hey, why should I read this book? Can the book not read by itself? Today, podcast is just that. Learning is going to be lifelong. 60% of the skills that we require today will not be, it will not be relevant 5 years from today. What skills will be relevant at that particular point in time? We really don't know. Except for the skills that I've listed, I really don't know what other skills will be relevant. Most importantly, 60% of the jobs that we do here today are not going to be there in 2030. What are the jobs that are going to substitute them? We don't know. That's what is making the future so very different from how it was when we were foreseeing the futures back in the 1990s and in the 00s. Employers expect employees to be all-rounders. They don't want generalists. They don't want specialists. They want someone who can manage teams and who can at the same time do original work. That's important. You cannot say, I'm a great motivator. I can manage teams. Actually, there is a wide belief that the entire middle management is going to disappear and is going to, because middle management essentially supervises, and that supervision is going to be done by bots. The supervision is going to get taken away because there's a lot of automation that's going to be done. So people who are in the age group of 35 to 45 who are making their way in industry have to beware. And that is also true of people in the audit and accounting profession. 3 more skills, and then I'll do a wind up. Everybody has to have an industry orientation, whether your son or your daughter, whether your nephew or your niece, whether they are coming out of an engineering college or whether they are coming out of chartered accountancy. They must exhibit employability at every stage. Forget son, forget daughter, forget nephew, forget niece. You and I will also have to exhibit employability at each stage of our life. There has to necessarily be an entrepreneurial streak, even if someone steps into employment. The employers are not today looking for guys who look at clocks. Employers are not looking today at people who are wanting only a month-end paycheck. Employers are looking at people who can think that this is their own company and who can therefore innovate and work for them. A 5th skill that's going to be important is managing selling skills. When I say selling, I don't necessarily mean marketing of products. I'm talking about marketing of ideas. The greatest challenge for CXOs of tomorrow would be how strongly are they able to take people along, how strongly they're able to push new ideas. That's why I like that WhatsApp forward, which said that the digital transformation did not take place. I know it's cliched now, but it's very true. The digital transformation in this world did not take place because of a CEO, did not take place because of a CIO. It happened because COVID came in and people were pushed into the pond. I think that's so very true. When the time comes for us to make those changes, we need to make those changes. Last but definitely not the least, and this is to Gen Z and to people who run organizations, people who run accounting firms. Industry wants people who are patient, who are courteous. Industry does not want people who say, sorry, I cannot do this. Industry wants people who when you go to them, who when they come to you would say, yes, I will look at it. I will look at it. I'll try find options, and then you will go and find options. You will make a genuine attempt to see how the problem can be solved. If after you have attempted, if after that you have found that you are not able to solve, you go back to your client and say, hey, this is not solvable, but these are the options that we can explore. Client will like you. If right at the beginning you say, hey, this is not possible, this is not allowed under law, this is impossible, you have no sense of perspective, I understand the world better, then you're going to lose clients and lose them fast. In profession, to get more specific, some of these things I've already talked about. There's going to be a lot of automation that's going to take place. Audit laboratories are going to be on hire as audit quality blooms, audit quality blossoms. People are no longer going to take this, I don't want to use the word crap, but people are no longer going to take this statement at face value that the books of accounts are true and fair. With lots and lots of companies falling down, I do know that the auditor is not ipso facto to blame, but questions are beginning to get asked, and we need to be prepared to answer them. The responsibility for red flagging fraud is increasingly on the profession, though we might argue that we are not fraud examiners. Uberization of the profession is very much on the cards. Anywhere, anytime, anyone can work in a company, in an audit firm. That's going to be the world of the future. If you ask me, are we seeing the end of accounting in the context of automation that's taking place? Are we seeing the end of auditing in the context of the automation that is taking place? If you're asking me, is this a bad time to be in accounting and auditing? I can tell you no. I will draw a parallel from the game of cricket. As long as there is going to be cricket, there are going to be scorekeepers, there are going to be umpires. As long as the game of cricket is on, the business of cricket is on, there will be scorekeeper accountants, there will be umpires, auditors. So as long as business is around us, I see no reason why business is not going to take place. We have just seen a bump, but no, business will become as usual as we move on. Life will change for sure, but life is not going to go away anywhere. Businesses are going to survive. They will want scorecards to be kept. They would therefore want accounting to be done. How accounting is done will of course change, but accounting by itself is not going to disappear. Stakeholders would want that the rules of the game are being adhered to. They would want umpires. How umpires will function, how auditors will function might change, but audit as a profession will survive. I'll close out by saying, ladies and gentlemen, that the future may be uncertain, but that should never, ever, ever scare us. Thanks a lot for your attention, and I'll hand it over back to our organizers. Thank you very much.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much. Thanks for a crisp and nice presentation. There are two questions which have come. I think we can take up that, sir.
Just 1 second, DC. I think I'm not able to see people. Just give me a second.
Yeah.
Yes. You're able to see?
Yes, sir. I'll just
All
try
right.
to add others first. Yeah. Are you able to see the screen, sir?
Yeah, I'm able to see the screen. Screen as in I can see you.
No, Excel sheet which I've shared, the two questions have come. I'll do it again once again.
Yeah, I think it's there.
Yeah. Can a CA who has service all along and started practice very late after retirement succeed in developing practice in general or in case of specialization in any one field? Kanupati Shiva Subramanian.
I think it is possible. In fact, I would not say it is not possible, though the challenge might be greater. I would think that the contacts, if you have built, the network that you have built while you were in work, if you built your network while you were at work, and these are people who will come to you, then I think there is definitely opportunity. I would think, I could be completely wrong, but I would think that a percent of your experience should actually talk about specializing in one area. When you specialize in one area, maybe you might not get lots of volumes of work, but when people think of someone in that area, they will think of you. You would stand out in that crowd. Okay, I'm basically therefore trying to say that instead of being a departmental store that offers everything, which is all right maybe when you start your career, you need to be like a showroom, which sells only one product. So you might be someone who offers derivative accounting. You might be someone who offers opinion in accounting standards, or you might be someone who offers opinion in CA ethical practice. If you do that, when somebody thinks of standards, somebody thinks of derivative accounting, somebody thinks of what should I say, audit ethics, they will think of you. But if you do everything, I think you'll be lost out. Second important thing, I do not know what's your specific background. It might also be not a bad idea to tag on, to talk to firms who are in the accounting field, speak to them, tell them that you're available without breaking all the codes of the institute. You must also meet up people. People have to know that you are there. If you do that, I think there is good scope. I see no reason why somebody at 58, I would still think 58, 60 is the new 40s. No, you're going to live 90 years. So another 30 years, you obviously can't sit back at home and chill it out. Yeah, do you see the second question?
Yeah. For all these futuristic AI, digital, etc. to happen, it will require substantial investment. When would that be possible, given the harsh beating the economy has taken with the impact of COVID-19?
I think that's a very, very relevant question. The investments in AI, investments in automation are already happening. They're already happening. It's not that we are to start tomorrow and then the money has disappeared. Yes, they would get a little bit postponed, but it's there to be done, because nobody today really wants workforce to come and work when it can be automated. I'll give you a very crude example, absolutely absurd example, but I'll give you that. Many years back, accountants thought, hey, if computerization takes place, where will I go? Today, Tally does all the accounting work. Half our chartered accountants today don't know that if they are given an untallied trial balance, how to tally that, because that skill is no longer required. So automation is going to happen. There is no two opinion about it. It might get postponed by a year, might get postponed by 2. In fact, people are going to pour money into that and get it done. So I don't think we should think that COVID is a blessing, that it will take away automation. No, it will not happen. Economy today might be bad, but economy is going to come back. It is not that we are not going to open up. There is already talk about how, there's already talk about, I don't want to get into the technical details, there's already talk about how we should fight COVID, how we should come out in the open, how it is herd that will cure. So industry is going to come back to work, and when it comes back to work, things are going to pick up.
Yeah, many have requested for the PPT. You can look for the handout tab on your pane, the window pane which is showing, and download it. Also, we will be uploading it under the resource tab in the SARC website. The next is by CAR Gopal. What are the short-term pains we need to undergo post-COVID?
First important pain that you will undergo post-COVID is that clients are going to disappear. Okay, I'll give you a very personal example. I do a lot of writing work. 20% of my writing work is gone as it stands today. Okay, the fixed 20% writing work is gone because the client says that we are in trouble. I say it's all right, no problem. Second important crisis pain point that you will face is that money is not going to come easily. I do not know about you, but generally I believe that clients pay auditors quite late. They're going to pay still later. They're going to pay much later. Disappearing work, impacts on cash flow, and possible requirement to reduce price are going to be the immediate pain points. If you can stand up and say, no, I'm not going to cut my price because this is my price, then you will stay. But TC, if you will forgive me, I will use a phrase. The only guys who are going to jack up their price are the guys who are going to work on my hair. Oh, the saloon guys are going to say, for the last 3 months we were locked down, now we will jack up our price. The rest of the people, the profession, may find it difficult to do that. So to quickly summarize, available work, don't lose clients if you can manage that. 2 is cash flow. 3 is possible reduction in fees.
Next is by CA Bharadwaj Vangipurappu. How will blockchain technology affect the profession, and how does a CA enter into that domain?
I would not be the right guy to talk about how a CA would enter into that domain. If DC knows, he can answer that. I would only like to.
Yeah, you complete the
Okay.
answer.
All right. No, I would only. No, I do not know, so there's no point in my shooting in the dark.
Okay.
I would like.
Yeah, please, sir, please.
I would only like to say that we don't have to master every single technology. For example, I don't think we really got to know how Excel works. We put that to use. In much the same way, I would think that for a majority of us people, we should understand what is blockchain, what blockchain does, how should we audit, notwithstanding that the blockchain is there. Are there changes to be done in our audit procedure? Should we audit blockchains also, or should we, like once upon a time people were saying, hey, the computer has thrown out the balance sheet, it has got to be right. Okay, that's what would happen. So in areas of land, in areas of real estate transactions, why even in business deals, blockchains have come in. There's a wide belief that this would ensure that tampering of documents does not take place. And my own sense is that you should get to know what it is, how it works, and design audit programs, which we'll talk about at some point in time, auditing the blockchain.
No, in fact, you just spoke my heart, sir. Technology learning is different, but it is just to, audit technology, which is where we have to equip ourselves. And another thing is blockchain is still in a very, very primitive stage still. So a lot of things have to be evolved. In fact, India has tested 4 projects in which there are a lot of challenges through rather than actually giving solutions at this stage. Yeah. Will future employment contracts enable us to do moonlighting? That is having second source of income without employer's permission. R. Gopal.
No, moonlighting is something that people have generally been doing. Whether that is ethical or not is a important question. You will get moonlighting options for sure. Whether you should moonlight or whether you should ask your employer permission for that is a matter of detail. My own sense is that so long as it does not, what should I say, put you in a position of conflict, you could do that. And like I said, there are going to be people who are going to work for multiple employers, and they will make it upfront that at morning I'm available, afternoon I'm available for this guy, evening I'm available for the other person, and people are going to accept that widely.
Matthew Jakaria, will the future be for a CA profession to market themselves due to technological and remote working options available?
I have my own views on marketing, but I think the best guys to answer that would be someone from the council, maybe DC or Abhishek. My own sense, I'll very briefly tell you, my own sense is twofold. One is that if I see a front page in a newspaper in the front page, a half-page advertisement which says, I am Dr. Cherian, I have done 7,000 heart transplants. If you have a problem, come to me. I have a serious problem with that. I'm not able to digest that. I am also not able to digest, though I know today it is par on course, where an educational institution puts up a front page ad, says that we are offering this education, come to us. Okay. To be honest, shall I tell that? No, I think I'll skip saying that. So in almost much the same way, I have a problem when an auditor advertises, but advertisement or marketing has to be subtle. When I say subtle, I'm not saying we must bend the rule without breaking it. Okay, I'm saying that unless people know that you are there, it will be very difficult for people to come to you. So in some way, you go speak in public fora, you go speak in institutes program, you mail out information of relevance in a manner. That's where I was talking about digital content creation in a manner that is understandable to people. Then people will watch you. Let's say you are on LinkedIn, you put in some really good ideas out there, somebody will watch, and then somebody would come to you. But I don't think we should at all get into this soap selling business. That's my personal belief, because I come from a very different generation and then grew up in a different generation. But that's my personal view. So to summarize, I think auditors and accountants must make themselves visible without getting into these front page type of advertisements. When I say front page type, I don't mean literally front page, going out, making that available in a very large form. I'm not personally for that.
Yeah, I just tried to copy a few questions on the screen, sir. Give me a minute, sir, please.
Modi is coming on Mann Ki Baat. Nobody wants to listen to him.
We would like to first listen to you and there, sir. Yes, sir. This question is on DISA. I believe our institute should introduce mandatory tech sessions for all DISA qualified members to keep them ahead of technology challenges. In fact, there are some things in the offing, which maybe in the next technology program we will cover. For people who are qualified, as well as people who have taken up the course but not given the exams, there are some short courses planned actually. Specializing which area for CA would be bright in future, like IBC merger, etc. Praveen Kumar, sir, you would like to answer, Pattabhi sir? Which area of CA is bright in future?
I will answer. My own view is that if you hunt for what is going to be bright, that's a moving target. It's like shooting a moving target, very tough. IBC obviously is going to be bright. There are lots of companies that have fallen down. Okay, but my own view is that we must look at what we are passionate about. What is it that we would like doing? Of course, it's also important as to whether the world wants us to do, whether the world will pay enough for us to do that. I would actually want you to sometime today, tomorrow, look at a Japanese concept called Ikigai, which places 4 things: what you love doing, what you're going to get paid for, what you're good at, and what the world wants you to do. Look at that intersection. I want you to spend some time later today, tomorrow, read that up. While I can't really give you a direct answer, I can tell you that many of the things today are relevant. IBC is a very relevant area. Valuation is absolutely relevant area. There's a lot of things there. But what is also important is how much of volume will you get? How many people are there? What is definitely important is that people have to use technology. So if you're someone who can help out on the technology front, so as a domain expert, in doing the RPA. There are lots of large companies which are getting into RPA in a very big way. If you can act as a domain expert, be their specialist in one area, that would be good. My own suggestion is that people should specialize in one area, which will be their bread and butter, do other things for, maybe maintenance kind of stuff.
Yeah, next, do you think the institute has to relook into professional ethics to realign with the digital realities of audit and accounts profession? In fact, yes, institute is constantly keeping the technological updates around. The simplest example was the website. Today, there is an option of website where you can showcase your things, but of course, it wants to limit and create a small thing that it does not get misused. Pattabhi sir, if you want to add on this.
No. There are 75% of the people are from the council. You are the best guys to answer that. No, you answer.
Yeah, next, I'm new to practice. What is your opinion on BNI for networking? I understand there is not an ethical to be very strict. In fact, to add, institute has come with a clear guideline, announcement, advisory, telling that you as a chartered accountant who is in practice should not be part of these networking institutes or the associations. If you are there, please move out. Yes, having said that, let me tell you, socializing is the best way where you meet up people and then kind of make benefit of getting business rather than join some structure which the motive is pure business and nothing else. Pattabhi sir, on this, your take on this?
I really don't know, yaar. If you can be if you're honest, I'm not a guy who is very comfortable being in social outfits. So you'll have to keep that in the back of your mind when you judge my statement. I want to, if I can ask, no, I think I can ask. If being in Rotary, if being in Lions Club, if being in CII is on, unless BNI has shown something that has been outstandingly bad, I don't know why institute must put an embargo on that. Should institute step in and control every aspect of what I do? Is a question that I have in mind. Has being in BNI shown cases where people violated code of conduct? If there are enough and more cases to do that, then I think it is all right. But when I first read that, I was a little surprised. To be honest, I was a little surprised. I thought, would next up somebody say that members of the CA profession should not be on social media, that members of the CA profession should not voice views on the social media? I don't know, because one can always take a logical argument that voicing views that are not politically correct on the social media can also be against the views of the institute. I would actually personally like the institute to be seen as a body that regulates audit, regulates accounting, and tries to ensure that there are no too many troubles that happen. And when troubles happen, they are cleaned up immediately and public is made aware that cleaning up has happened. Beyond that, to go say where I should go, which media I should be in, I'm not too sure. Next question is, should I appear on television or not appear on television? If being in BNI was good for 30 years, how is it not good now? These are just stray thoughts. I'm sorry if I have crossed the line, but I thought I've been quite long in the institute's profession, so that I thought I should voice that.
Yeah, just to add, sir, in fact, institute did had a long discussion on this, whether to curb it or not, but there were some elements of soliciting business which was purely against the professional code of conduct.
No, but does that not happen in a Rotary club? Does not happen in a Lions club?
It happens as an incidental or ancillary things, and here the main objective is that is the reason. There are difference between the two, because when somebody joins organizations like JCI, Rotary, they just socialize and then some ancillary benefits come that they accept it. But here it is kind of structured where the business is measured, calculated, how much you have brought, how much you have brought. So those are the reasons why institute in its wisdom has thought so.
No, I knew the institute would have thought it over. Yeah.
SD Prasad Veerapappani, what is the sustainability of old traditional practitioners in the future? How to update yourself with new technology?
Practitioners? No, practitioners or practice? He's referring to the individual That means the individuals,
Sir, you request you to cover both, sir.
the old guys like Manaraj and me, huh? He's referring to that. Or he's talking about audit as a whole thing. No, if he's talking about practitioners, the old guys or the guys who have been in practice for long, I don't think he should worry unless he's an elderly guy. If he's an elderly guy, you have to transition. Today there are only two types of people. There's no old people, there's no young people. There are people who know things, there are people who don't know things. In a team, just like gender is no longer important, age is also not important. And I foresee a situation, even which is happening now, that in organizations there are people in their 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, and even 70s who will be working. 6 decades of people will be working. So first important thing, therefore, is that if somebody does not make himself updated, he becomes a museum piece. I am very clear about that. Second important thing is that will traditional practice go away? Things that are routine, things that are structured, things that are rule-based will go away. I've always found it very uncomfortable, though I don't do tax practice. I've always felt very uncomfortable when the finance minister says we have simplified the tax rules such that tax returns can be filed by the individual. He does not put a full stop. He says filed by the individual without the help from chartered accountants. I find it very hard to absorb that statement. But the point is that those kind of works will go away. They will not stay. But otherwise, if you include other kinds of tax practice, they are definitely going to be there. Audits are also going to be there. It's what I would say is that that cozy relationship between the client and the auditor is going to disappear. Whether you are in traditional practice or you are in current modern practice does not matter. You don't become a modern guy just because you wear jeans, or because you come in a dhoti does not mean that you're not up to the mark. So my own view is that we don't have to move to, just to give an example, move to capital market because somebody perceives that as being modern. Wherever we are good at, whatever we are good at, we must become more good at that. We must specialize in that. That is my personal view. And as you see automation taking away those areas, you please help in the automation. You please help in the automation. If you're a guy who's on CapEx audit specialist and companies want CapEx to be automated, kindly help them. Then they will come to you for further things. That's my rough answer to a very valid question that he has put out there.
So the message is very clear that technology is to be learned to take care of the audit and the other things revolving. And so
technology is either to be learned, or if you are like me, I will not say like Manaraj, if you are like me, you'll have to hire people who know technology. Okay.
Best way to do things. Okay, the next one by Mohan Koduri. Is it practically possible for small and medium firms to be specialized to run their daily show, wherein all the requirement of specialized works are offered to only big and reputed firms?
Absolutely right. I think you are bang on. This is the existential dilemma. That is why I said, if you're a small and medium guy, do everything. That will bring the month-end money. But at the same time, also specialize. Because I'm sure you don't want to be small forever. And today, for example, there are several areas where people come to small guys. They come to small guys because the big guys tell them, that we are expensive for this part of the work. Please go to that small guy is there. He's a good guy. He will do the work fast. We will take 16 days to do. He will do it in 3 days because he's without a job. Okay. So they will come to you. A lot of work will spin like that. So while you do the run of the mill work, let one thing stand out in the public eye, or one thing stand out in the eye of fellow professionals about what you are extremely good at. Okay.
Next is, what are the possibilities for automation for a practicing CA to enable audit, not administration of office activities? One or two key activities that can be automated for auditing. Muralidhar Shenoy.
Many areas are automatable. Many areas. Every area that is routine based is automatable. Purchase audit is automatable. Capital expenditure audit is automatable. Any area is automatable, and it is not that you have to go and automate. You will like the softwares that came in, you will increasingly see more softwares that come in that will help you do automation. So like I said, now wherever you're able to prepare an internal, wherever you're able to prepare a checklist, and where Mr. X or Y does not have to apply very significant intelligence to do that, those are all automatable. DC, maybe you would like to add something there.
Yeah, in fact, one thing to add is Institute is coming up with an audit tool software and a practice management software going forward to standardize things. They have just given the tender a few days back. It will take 6 months time, but I'm very sure once that comes, once Institute gives, we know exactly what has to be done, and then we can add upon or innovate as to for the betterment of the work what we do.
So that means the Institute is coming out with a, what I might loosely call an audit lab that people can hire and use.
Yes, sir, kind of. Yes, sir. Yes. And also managing practice, your task management, your staff management, all those things are going to be embedded.
That is administrative. I think he already discounted it.
So both are coming, I told, because this is given as a part of a package, actually.
Wonderful.
Paul, what should the fresher CA practitioner do? Suggest the best course of plan.
First and foremost, I think a fresher must decide whether he wants to be into. First and foremost, Abhishek Murli can afford to be in practice. Many of us may not want to get into practice because the opportunity cost today of being in practice is high. When I say practice, I mean practice in the traditional sense. I have personally thought, I might be completely wrong, I have personally thought it's good to go to industry, work there for a few years, and then come. But if you're someone who has an entrepreneurial streak and says, no, I will not go and work this 9 to 5 companies. By the way, no companies are 9 to 5, maybe they are 9 in the morning and 5 next morning. But if you take that stand, then yes, you would want to come and do practice. And here again, my own sense is that practice today needs to be built, not like how it was once upon a time built, like among friends, 2 friends come together, 3 friends come together, do it. If you ask me, and I've been telling this to multiple people, multiple accounting firms with whom I interact, that the firms that should now come up, the medium type firms, should also have a very clearly defined hierarchy, even amidst the partners. Very clearly defined. I know that many firms might have it, but very clearly defined hierarchy, very clearly defined processes. It is not that somebody is a first among equals. I don't believe in that idea at all. This question of all of us are equal, therefore everything is fine. I am also a partner, you're also a partner. I am also a chartered accountant, you're also a chartered accountant. You sign financial statements, I also sign financial statements, therefore both of us are same. I think that kind, I don't think firms must get built. To any fresher, I would like you to invest in the process. The processes are best created when you are fresh. Fresh means when there is no great work around. And then implement the process with great rigor. Constantly upgrade yourself with developments that is happening in the world around. And most importantly today, network with people. There are some of us who are not very comfortable networking because that is in our genes, but today it has to be taken as an occupational hazard and it must be done. Maybe build that idea even while you are in your CA practice, LinkedIn, try to make useful conversations with senior people, either in the profession or in industry. Try to throw them with some good ideas, use the social media for productive work, and I think you will catch up. But I want you to understand and appreciate that CA practice, like any practice, like medical practice, like being into teaching, is not like retail business that I buy today, I sell today, I make profit. It's not a sprint. It's not a 100-meter race. It's a marathon. It's at least a middle distance race, if not a marathon. If you keep that in mind And if you have the time, if you have the inclination and the ability to stay the course, I think you will do quite well.
Yeah, in fact, that second question next also has got answered by this. Next is by CA Venkata Subramanian. Is the current method of schooling and education suitable for the changing industry, or do you see an educational method that is customizable for each student coming in the future to adapt with this need for growing innovation and creativity?
Okay, I'll take a minute or a minute and a half to answer that. That means I'll take a bit of time to answer that. To Venkat, I would like to say that I'm actually working on a document for uh, an organization, and that document should be out anytime. We are in the final stage of closing it out, where we are talking about the 9 trends in learning and development. Very quickly, in these 9 trends, what we see that are going to happen is self-learning. That means people will learn at home. The teacher is tomorrow going to teach Newton's third law of motion. Today, the student watches a video on Newton's third law of motion. Or tomorrow, the teacher is going to teach, let's say, consignment and joint venture. Today, the student reads consignment and joint venture, learns the journal entry, comes to the classroom. Some part of the learning will be completely self-learning. Some part of it will be blended learning. That means the student reads and comes. Then in the classroom, he interacts with the teacher. Teacher now has all the time to tell him why consignment and joint venture is important. Where is it going to be applied in industry? Which are the people whom he knows who do consignment joint venture? So they spend more time on the practical aspects, more time interacting with somebody else so that they get better skills. The relationship between the teacher and the student is also going to change. It's not like what we had in the Gurukulam days, or it is not even like what was when DC was one of our students, where there was a great deal of respect for the teacher. Today, as we move forward, the teacher and the student are going to be big friend and small friend, or senior friend and junior friend. These are 3 big developments that are going to take place. Individualized learning is also going to happen in this, and winning educational institutions are going to be that. There is a view, I do not know how many of you want to subscribe to it. There is a view that when I do my BCom, while the default option might be to do it in 4 years, that means we have BCom honors running for 4 years instead of the traditional 3 years. I might be good enough to finish it in 3 years. Somebody might want to finish it in 7 years. That means there is no classroom per se. There is no batchmates per se. Okay, and I'm not shooting in the dark. This is how it is in Canada, for example. My nephew reads there in Canada. He joined for a 4-year course. He finished it in 3 years. And for the 4th year, he has gone to learn some film directing or whatever. Also, what is going to happen is that people are going to be allowed an array of subjects to choose from. So if I go to BCom, I don't have to necessarily read banking, read economics. I might read banking, I might read economics, I might also choose to read artificial intelligence, because I think that is going to be the big thing in the world. So somebody learns in 3 years, that means you have to do so many, what should I say, credits. Somebody does it in 3 years, somebody does it in 6 years. Nobody is going to ask, why did you finish in 6 years? And I think our profession should understand that well. Nobody asks any chartered accountant, why did you take more than 3 years to finish? The same thing is going to happen in graduation also. And I think over a period of time, personalized learning will happen. Though for a country of 1.3 billion or 130 crores, it's going to be hard, but it is something that is going to happen in the future. There are very clearly discernible winds of change that are blowing in the atmosphere.
Yeah. Pannaraj sir, you would like to add something on this? Pannaraj sir, you'll have to unmute your mic.
Yes. It was a very excellent presentation, sir. What I meant really was the sentiment of 2-3 questions, which are especially Mr. H.D. Prasad. He practices nearby Ballari. That is, this traditional practice is going away, and they have to gear up. That's where they are in confusion. Number 1. Number 2 is the youngsters who are coming to the practice. The number is increasing, but the opportunities in smaller places are in traditional areas are less. So as you rightly said, I stressed upon new opportunities, new areas of opportunities for profession. Even Ballari is the first branch for that matter to see the role of chartered accountants in the role in agriculture sector. So there is so much of things happening in this 20 lakh crore package for agriculture also. With lots of, I think recently I shared this question with you on Facebook. What would be the trend of migrating workers? Will they come back for the industry and all? So now there is that sort of thing. Most of them may stay back at villages. So what I have already suggested on the day when you came to Bellary, I was in radio talk, sir, on that day, I think 5-6 years ago. On that day, I requested the government through the radio that smart villages also should be done, and it is taken up by the government nowadays. So these technologies should go to the small townships, wherein they can cover even the villages, and there the chartered accountants practicing in taluk areas is increasing, is on the increase. Like that, we should go for newer areas, and agriculture is one sector which is not very much affected, less affected by this pandemic compared to other sectors. Like this, the entrepreneur skills and the innovative methods should be there for the youngsters to take up the additional skills. As you rightly pointed out, they should have the sustainable capacity for 4-5 years minimum to put up decent practice and to have economic stability from the profession itself. So definitely your inputs are very, very useful for all the viewers, I think, especially for newcomers and youngsters who are coming into the practice. And the future of technology, that is 2030 is coming fast, is the biggest message that we are given for everyone. More so to me, I am waiting for my son to take over and fully involved in social activities. May not be catching up with those things. Thank you very much for the concern you are saying and the guidance that you are given to the young practitioners. Especially, I am concerned more about SMPs in smaller places. Many things, this technology matters, investment, and the level of practice and networking. All these things may catch up a bit late in smaller places, but they should be capable of networking themselves with the people like Abhishek in Chennai or Bangalore and such cities to gear up with the things. So it was very nice, and I also enjoyed your presentations.
Yeah.
There are
Vinara sir, no, we are not completing. Vinara sir, there are a few more questions we are taking, sir, still.
Oh, fine.
Yeah. Pattabhi sir, next is by CSD Prasad. Do you think we need to network ourselves with technical people in the future for our sustainability?
A network where?
Networking with technical people, people who know technology or.
Oh, I personally think, maybe I'm digressing, but I personally think that your 3 best friends, if you have 3 best friends, none of them should be from the CA profession. You will live a very happy, contented, healthy, and successful life. One of them happens to be a doctor. One of them happens to be an engineer. One of them happens to be a lawyer. One of them happens to be a technology guy or whatever. Okay. Why I say that is that to even imagine that we should network only with chartered accountants, obviously no. The chartered accountant, half jokingly say will come to you to pick your work. Okay? So I think you must network with technology guys because they are the ones who will also give you an insight into what is happening in the world around them. My own view is that you should also, not just from, what should I say, work picking point of view, but from being generally aware about how things are, you must also interact with people in the medical profession, people in the healthcare industry, which today is apparently the most happening industry for the right or the wrong reason. So to cut a long answer short, I would say yes, you must network with technology people. You must network with people who belong to other professions, and that is where maybe science is also an idea that right time has come.
For your information, Nikhil and Prasad both are nearby Ballari. Sir. One is from Ballari.
Okay. And next is CA Nikhil. Many CA firms want freelancers and vice versa. Many freelancers want to reach mid-sized firms or large firms today, but we don't have the right path or platform to reach. I know LinkedIn and few are there, but are not that effective or specific.
We just have to pass on that information to Uber. Uber will create Uber Audit Limited. In other words, what I'm trying to hint at is that this is a huge opportunity for someone in the accounting space to create a platform whereby people who seek work can be connected to people who have work. There's a huge opportunity.
Probably as there are some ICA guidelines, I hope ICA itself comes up with some nice thing which takes care of these things actually.
Okay.
Panarath sir, you are telling something, please sir, please.
Me, huh? No.
Okay, next is by CA Shweta. We hear people speaking about collaboration with bigger firms or senior CAs for a sole proprietor to prosper in the practice. So do we think that a sole proprietor can survive in future without any collaboration? Please suggest.
It depends on what is it that the sole proprietor is actually doing. It depends on what is it that the sole proprietor is actually doing and how big is his firm. There are a few things for which you don't necessarily require a partnership. For a long time, there were two partnership firms. It's only today, for various regulatory reasons, that people are looking at multi-partner firms. What is important is the size of the firm, the quality of work it does, and what is the work it does. In the also say that if somebody is a sole proprietary firm that is big, I'm not talking about a sole proprietary firm that is small. I'm not talking about a pottikadai. I'm talking about a large supermarket, but which has only one owner. Now, he would actually do well to add people, largely to give those people a sense of ownership. If you look at any of the many companies that are in India, they are in a very technical sense sole proprietary. In the sense, 85% of the stake is held by one man, 55% of the stake is held by 1%. And then ESOPs came in because people said employees must feel comfortable about it. So what I'm trying to say is that sole proprietor survival or non-survival is not going to be based on whether he's a sole proprietor or a partnership firm. It's going to be based on the size of his firm, the diversity of work that they do, or the specialization of the work that they do, and the quality at which they deliver. In the same breath, I would also like to say that if somebody has been in your firm for long, you will have to, or for the young people to today work for you or work with you, you will have to show them a career path. Today's generation, at least the generation that is now going to come up, the generation born maybe in 2007, 8, 10, the generation that is going to come up, the generation born to the millennials, they are not only going to look at money, they're also going to look at career path. They're also going to look at whether you allow them to pursue their passion. There might be a CA, unlike in my time, if you are a CA and you loved painting, nobody in your office recognized your painting. You can't do that to the kids that are born in the 2000s. So as an organization, you have to recognize that. What I'm trying to hint at is that taking more partners in whatever form gives a sense of satisfaction to the guy who has been with you. So, and that you're able to show him a career path ahead.
Next is by CR Gopal. What are the benefits and drawbacks of remote work?
The greatest advantage of remote work is that you don't have to travel. You don't have to travel. For example, for me, the traveling time in the morning is half an hour. For me, the traveling time in the evening, if it is after 4:30, is 1.5 hours. 1.5 hours plus half an hour, 2 hours. Even if you multiply with 5 days, though I want to multiply with 7 days, even if you multiply with 5 days, it is 10 hours a day. We are talking about 3,000 hours a month. If you divide 3,000 hours a month with approximately 10 working hours, you're looking at 300. You're looking at 30 days lost. You are spending time in the traffic, whereas you can actually spend time at home. So the greatest advantage is that you can work from anywhere. Today, technology has made it seamless. Just imagine if all of us had to today commute and assemble at Institute's Brahmaya Hall. First big problem is the parking there. Second big problem are multiple other things. So if you are at home, things are good. People say, it's, like I said yesterday, I was speaking to the head of a BPO. He says that there is a tendency for productivity to come down if people work from home. He said that. I didn't want to get too much into it. So he's a knowledgeable guy, so I would like to trust him. So maybe productivity would come down. Third important, another disadvantage is with work from home is that if there are 2-3 people working, there's a husband who's working, there's a wife who's working, there's a son who is working. Where will all they work from? They'll all work from one room. I do not know whether it is such a great thing to see your wife or the son seeing you all through the day's 24 hours. So that could be a disadvantage. So long as people take work from home seriously, so long as they dress up the way that they dress up when they go to work, and so long as they give it all the attention that it deserves, I think there's a huge advantage in working from home. Certain companies might have problems with respect to data privacy or data security. That's going to be a challenge. Providing people with the infrastructure is going to be a challenge. My sense is that, I could be wrong, my sense is that what companies might do is that they might give you coupons. They would say they would not invest heavily in real estate. They would give you coupons, and with the coupon, you might go to a cafe coffee day, or let's not say cafe coffee day. Let's say you will go to a, what is that called? Shared office space. You'll go to a shared office space, sit there, park yourself that day, work and come home.
Workafella, Insta works,
The workafella type shared office, people will give you things so that you don't have to do huge commutes. And therefore, what is going to greatly happen is that works that don't have an office requirement, like writing is a work that does not require an office requirement. Report writing does not require an office environment. You can get into Zoom, or you can get into these go-to meetings and be done with it. I'm actually asking myself, why do people travel from Chennai to Mumbai, take a flight at 6 o'clock in the morning, go through all those bloody hassle of passing through a security guy who doesn't even have the courtesy, who says like this, and then you land up in Mumbai, take a cab, go to that fellow's office, sit in the reception, pour through some papers, and then the CEO calls you. You have a meeting for 45 minutes, come back, again, pick an Ola in the night. What a dirty waste of time. All of that today is here right now. So if you ask me, I'm a great votary of work from home. I won't even say work from home. I'll say work from anywhere. Maybe you're sitting in your car, work from there. You're sitting in your neighbor's car, work from there. No need to really go to office is my view. I could be completely wrong. Especially audit firm. I don't know why they should all land up in an office just because a client wants to come and see how is the office before he hands over work. Other than that, I don't see clients dropping in.
In fact, I too heard of an organization where they did a check and the productivity did go up and employees started working from home. So
productivity went up, is it? Oh, that's good.
Up, yeah. So only thing is you must be, as Pattabhi Ram sir said, technologically your data, everything should be in the cloud and infrastructure should be available. If you are able to spend in there and if you are going to get benefited, I think nothing like that. So next is by CA Pankaj. Can we get specific new opportunities which you feel a CA in practice and a CA who is working in a company should explore as a new opportunity? Can we give one standard answer for this?
Maybe Panaraj will open it and then I'll add.
Panaraj sir.
Yes, sir. Now the institute, actually I have been looking for these things from the day when I entered the regional council, almost the 4th year now. And you should venture, the new opportunities will not open up without your efforts. We should see where all our things, our services are required. For example, I tried Urban Development Authority's accounting was required as per the law. in Karnataka, there is a provision that there should be a double entry system of accounting. So I approached in Bellary the deputy commissioner, who was the authority chairman at that time, and I convinced him. And Bellary is the first urban development authority in Karnataka to adopt double entry system of accounting, where the accounting was done in double entry system number 1, number 2 tax audit was done, number 3 the what's called income tax returns are filed. All these things are done. 3-4 opportunities are created. I wanted the same thing to be replicated by the whole state. In the meantime, the institute has taken up this matter, and where a task force is also done. So all the urban and rural local bodies, they have to convert themselves into double entry system in accordance with the requirement of a Supreme Court decision in 2012 itself, which is being implemented by the government. So center has already given directions on doing something in this, and I, being chairman of that particular committee, that is government and public accounting, financial management, that committee has taken it up, and shortly we will be meeting all the state heads, that is chief secretaries and the state governments, to do the accounting of all the urban local bodies, even rural local bodies. That is number 1. Another opportunity would be, as I already told, there are so many schemes and finances at the lower rate and subsidies that are available as per the government notification, especially in agriculture sector. So those are the areas where they should explore the orders of the government and take them to the needy. And some of the people, especially in office area, they will be holding the agriculture land also. Especially dry land agriculture farming is the one thing which is badly required at this time, with so many migrant workers going back there. And there the economy can boost with the help of participation by the chartered accountants through government schemes, and through by intervening themselves into the banks and telling the people that it will not be normally the banking sector is not doing well in agriculture sector because frequent waivers are coming from the government. Even a prompt repayment is punished in many cases. So there we have to convince them by paying, just like how we convince our clients, by paying better taxes, your balance sheet will be better, you can grow better. Same thing, by repaying the loans, they can grow better. That is another agriculture sector. Third one, I can say cooperative movement. Agriculture sector, even cooperative movement for food processing units. So there also there is huge opportunity, and cooperative units as it is, those audits also are being given to chartered accountants. Like this, so many areas are there. We should explore the newer areas of where the government is spending. We are there for at least 60% of the revenue that is collected by the government. Our role is there, either direct tax or indirect tax. But where is our role in spending for the government? When the government spends in that area, our role is very, very less compared to the revenue collection for the government. So I feel wherever the government spends money, there it wants some control. That control can be done by through the certification by CAs, which the institute also has taken up now, with all the departments, various departments, human resources development and urban development, all these things. Even these smart villages also are coming up now. There the chartered accounts are records even in smaller places. So like this, newer opportunities are there with the entrepreneur skills. Definitely they should be able to make out their living. Sitting under a fan or AC at office will not work for office practicing chartered accountants. This is my view. I think I took a lot of time, but that's how
I think it was very well answered.
Yes.
Very well.
Pattabhi sir, can you add on that, sir?
I'll do that. Maybe a couple of points, like I'll put this across, see how it works. I'm addressing the person who put out the question. I'll give you an example of an individual. This guy was invited into a company to look at their MIS, Management Information System. He worked with the company in a space of 10 days, 15 days. He was able to completely modernize it and create a dashboard where he was not generating new data, data that is available, data that was being captured, was captured in multiple reports. He was able to bring it into one place. Okay. In other words, he was able to create a dashboard like you have a dashboard in your car where the key numbers get thrown up. Once he had done that, so what I'm trying to say is that go find what is the pain point for a client. A pain point for another client, for that client essentially was that he had to see multiple statements to understand what was happening to the company. So he was able to create a dashboard. What he then did was that he then identified where are the 8 directors in the company, in which companies are they directors. Now, I do not know whether this violates institute norms, etc. I don't know. I don't think it violates. So he was there. Each of these guys were in some 5 companies. So 8 into 5, 40 companies. So he asked the CEO of the company to tell these 8 directors what he had done. He also explained to them what he had done, and they were then able to implement in their respective 40 companies. Not all 40 companies happened. 50% of the 40 companies happened. He was able to pick up 20 more clients. What I'm trying to say is that identify a pain point instead of looking for this is what I want to do. Go find out what is it that the client wants, do that. The minute he is excited about it, at that particular point in time, seek leads, or you figure out leads with the help of today. There's a huge database of who is the director in which company. Speak to them, showcase what you have done without appearing to be marketing. And I think many of them would like to help you. That's one example. Like that, you must know, I earlier talked to you about niche. I also made a reference to micro innovation. One example of micro innovation in the context of our profession can be, I'm not saying it has not been done, can be that you might specialize just in filing income tax returns of doctors, or you might specialize filing income tax returns only of people above a certain level of income. If you're saying that I am doing exclusively for doctors, to the doctor to whom you go, he also feels a sense of bonding. This is not any original idea. This is how many of the bankers do. They say loan for chartered accountants. You mean to say they don't give loan for others? They give loan for doctors. When they go to doctors, they'll say loan for doctors. Like that, if you specialize in preparing some work, could be tax return, could be audit, for one segment of people, focus on it. It could be doctors, it could be small and medium enterprises. This idea of chartered accountants acting as the word that is today used, virtual CFO, is actually old hat. It is there from the time I stepped out of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India. It's nothing new. It is just that today we have more fanciful names. So identify companies which need such help, do that, and then specialize in that. So do one thing, do it accurately, and then like what the pharma companies do, no, then you make it a blockbuster. Do the same thing in multiple.
In fact, one more thing I would like to add based on your discussion, sir. I remember somewhere in one of the sessions they said that in any work what you see, there will be some dissatisfied section or not. If you can take care of that as a challenge and do it, that will help you to do things like that. Because there are a lot of work what we do, there is some dissatisfaction in certain things not getting achieved. If that can be identified and then you can give your solutions to that area. It may be a mundane, boring job. As you said, the dashboards. People were not getting information all these days, and suddenly someone was able to give out all at one place. So that kind of things will help you to get new opportunities. Opportunities are there only in the existing space. There's nothing beyond or the beyond the boundary you can create. But yes, you'll have to think out of box to get things. So what will be the level of automation in audit you expect in next 3 to 5 years, Umesh?
Like I said earlier, the whole level. Except for the area that requires judgment, everything that is rule-based is going to be driven by automation. And that is the reason why even during the Excel days, I used to tell people this idea of sampling is done and gone. Even during Excel days, and now with the ability to handle all transactions, check all transactions, You don't even need sampling. You will do 100% of the population. So anywhere which is rule driven will get automated.
Again,
Only where
next
you have
is
to
on
apply judgment. Only where you have to apply judgment, you have to say, hey, this could be right, this could also be right. That is where individual intervention is required. Otherwise, no. Just to give a very
next.
crude example, I know it is absurd, but just to give a crude example, why should depreciation computation at all ever be audited? If that's hugely automatable, you know whether you can bunch all the assets together, you know which ones are over 6 months, which ones are under 6 months, you know the rates, you have to just apply those rates and land up with a number. And today you can also write rules to check whether they add vertically, add horizontally, whether rounding of errors is there, not there. And those are areas that really don't need any kind of audit per se, provided, of course, you have begun to trust the work that has been done.
Yeah. Next, I'll skip because it is a repetition of what we already discussed. Then Subramaniam, future scenario would require soliciting of business by members. Would that be allowed by ICA? Yes, in its limited way. As and when things are changing, institute is kind of allowing things, but it wants to maintain to see that it is not getting misused also at the same time. Next is by R. Gopal. Can we say that it won't be business as usual by rephrasing it to business as unusual in the light of changes that are taking place?
They would be, to use that very, very cliched term, they would be the new normal, a phrase that I dislike because it's been so bandied about. But like you rightly said, business as unusual, so we'll call it the new normal.
Sri Yashaswini, does automation apply to CA who wants to pursue career in economics, policy and research? If yes, in what way?
That's a question that I am stumped for an answer. Models could get automated, but it will take a long time to happen. Models will get automated, but the actual research and application of mind, I don't think that's going to happen any soon, and it may not be a great priority area at this particular time. But any analytical work that needs to be done can be automated. For example, if somebody wants to know how much do auditors charge clients as a percentage of their turnover, that's automatable. You'll have to just pick up numbers. If you know how to do, you pick up numbers from the office of the registrar of companies, run an analytical tool, and you are there, done fast compared to how it was maybe 10 years ago when you had to go and pick each piece of data. But research, etc., may not be automatable. You will have to still do the dirty work. But Google is there for you to get lots of input, and then you apply your mind and work on it.
Okay, we'll take last 3 questions, sir.
Yeah.
One, being practitioner in rural area or smaller cities, the client base are still in old practice, even their practice is not up to the latest technology. What is the advice for us to update technology? CA Rasaya Kumaresan.
No, see, it's a question of what you want to do. If you want to be, like I earlier said, there is nothing earth-shattering that we must move to what is current. If what was being done earlier was good for you, if it is paying you enough, you're satisfied with that, stay with that. If the client is not upgrading to the latest technology, I don't think we are influential enough to change their mindset. I don't think we are influential enough to change their mindset, because despite whatever we might say, we are not their business partners. We are not their business partners. We can call ourselves partners in nation building. All that is good, right, in a certain context. But I don't think you're a strategic advisor for a small and medium firm. One option, therefore, if you think that you are getting staled out, is for you to move out. Some of the best achievements have happened when people have given up. They have said, okay, this is no longer working for me, or this is not what I want to be doing in life, or this is not what I want to be remembered for. Then you'll have to cut out and move out. So, like I said, no, you will have to pick people who are in the same wavelength, or you will have to fall in their wavelength and do, or you will have to move on and do other things.
There's a suggestion to Uberization by connecting the freelancers by institute. Yes, we will take it up with the institute and see that something is happening on that front. What is your view on role of ICA to setting up of incubation centers for chartered accountants to develop innovative technology for the profession? CA Manobin. Yes, we will take it up with the central committees. Next is the work from home, making it possible to work for multiple organizations. Will the work for CAs in industry be shifted to practicing CAs, some or other substantial parts by the organizations?
It depends on your efficiency, depends on the trust quotient, and depends on how well you deliver. In industry, for example, if you say tomorrow, it gets delivered tomorrow. I don't know whether that is 100 practice in practice. So it may not necessarily shift to practitioners. It could in part shift to practitioners. But work from home does not necessarily mean the guy is going out of employment. He could still be in employment. Not everybody might like to work for multiple clients. One boss is bad enough. Two bosses can be terrible, and three can be disastrous. So not everybody might be game for that.
Yes, sir. We have taken all the questions to the satisfaction of all the viewers. Panara, sir, if you would like to add something and then we can close. Before that, Pattabhi, sir, anything else you want to?
No, yeah, I'm perfectly okay. I'm perfectly okay with how things went today. I'm very happy.
No, I think we covered all the entire gamut of questions which had come. Panara, sir, please. Sir, Panara, sir, your audio.
Unmute, sir.
Unmute, sir, please.
Sir, yes. So I request Pattabhi sir to contribute to the practitioner chartered accountants by enlightening them the newer areas where they can explore their capabilities to get the newer opportunities. That's the core thing which everywhere the question is arising, especially in the smaller places. So Institute has already taken up that issue, and in every segment of it, every committee also, they are having one item called professional opportunities. So even in sustainability, this one also I saw a last line, professional opportunities. I could not continue hearing that because I was at office with a client. I could not hear it. But definitely Institute is doing its bit, and the youngsters and the seniors, they should go out of the box. This is my advice. This traditional practice, as rightly pointed out by you, sir, it will be mostly automated. So the opportunities may slightly reduce, but it will not be taken over. But we should get up to that. In addition to that, entrepreneur skills and the exploring the newer areas of especially small and medium enterprises, you can do wonders by guiding them. You should become partially an entrepreneur also, or the entrepreneur skills that you have should be put to use to see that the needy are guided. Many might not be knowing the what's called the government policies and facilities that are being given. So one has to spend a lot of time. Even I was very happy to see one question on economic policy and research. I am doing the course on this certificate course on government and public accounting, financial management, wherein most of that is involved with the economic policy and all, even budgetary process and all these things. To know all those things, even I had my mentor, Dr. Sheshadri, economics professor, who used to extensively use the statistics and the technology, computers technology to analyze the data, as you rightly pointed out, sir. So there also the economics knowledge for CAs is less than what is required. That is number one, in my opinion. We should, especially I request chairman to put at least one topic every time. You have already put it in your action plan. There should be a talk on economics by academicians or who are in the field, so that they should know how the things are working. So many things which you can get by the press of a button, so much of information, and we don't know the concepts. Many don't know what is fiscal deficit, what is revenue deficit, what is budgetary process, and all these things, even though we take financial bill every year. So these are the minimum things. If they come to know the economic aspect of it and administrative aspect of the government, they would come to know many schemes where the money is spent by the government and there the opportunities can be definitely used, because the automation in government sector is a bit slow. So those who are ready to spend time there, they can definitely find their practice future opportunities in the government spending in every sector, with the knowledge of economics, with the institute, especially SIRC, taking up the economic aspects of every field.
We'll do it, Panaraj, sir.
This,
We will.
I thank you for giving this opportunity. I felt I am very enlightened with the presence of Pattabhi sir. I'll be in touch with you, sir.
DC, I have a small suggestion.
Yes,
Please,
sir.
sir, please do, sir.
I don't know if it has already been done, so not too much in touch, but I think more than asking the government, do this, do that, if there is some way whereby we can assemble CAs who will draw up a budget and give to the incoming finance minister, I think it would be a good idea to do. Then there'll be a lot more credibility and respect.
In fact, there are that pre-budget and post-budget suggestions which need to be given. Maybe we can take that itself as a separate project, and that can be given with our ideas.
No, not just the pre-budget is more of a wish list that the group sits together, becomes a finance minister, and then decides this is where I want to. So because it's easy both pre and post to say do this, do this, do that. You didn't do this, you didn't do that. The minute we do it this way and come out with it, I think there will be greater recognition.
That is the extension of what already institute is doing. Institute is not normally suggesting only on tax matters.
Correct. We limit it. Maybe we can take it a holistic view of things, as
Yes.
you said. Wish list.
What I'm saying is you come out with the numbers.
Yes.
Sir, definitely, sir, definitely.
I'll take interest in that field, sir. I'll come back to you.
We'll take things forward, sir, definitely. Abhishek, you can share your thoughts and give the vote of thanks, please.
Now, it was very interesting listening to Pattabhi sir as always, and he has been a very forward-looking person. And I think the few very interesting inputs that we can take away from this entire thing is technology has to be, a mainstay for us. Many of us don't use technology, especially in the CA practice. I think many of us are still stuck in the traditional ways, but we have to start exploring opportunities in technology. I think as simple as even this webinar will tell you, where earlier all, as Pattabhi sir rightly said, all our programs used to be in Brahmaya Hall, and there used to be a mad rush when we used to have a lot of programs there. Suddenly, once we moved online, earlier we have tried online, but we did not get the response. By force of nature, we have now gone online, and our YouTube programs were having 7,000, 8,000, 13,000 views. So you are seeing almost 1/3 of the region are participating in our programs. It was pretty amazing to see. And that itself shows that sometimes when you're pushed towards technology, people do take it up. And I think we have to realize at this point, especially given what has happened, the developments due to COVID, there is going to be a gradual push towards technology. Many people have adopted it as the new way, or as Pattabhi sir very grudgingly said, the new normal. So I think that's something we have to first take as an important takeaway. And the second important thing is, I think a closed system has never thrived. We have to look at trying to break out of that closed system. So anything where you feel that you are stuck by certain restrictions, certain regulations, if it is reasonable, I think we can continue to be there. But even as going forward, making representations either to the government or to our own ICAI, we have to come up with a broader view to try to take away without restricting, try to expand the scope rather than restricting the scope. I think that is the way forward. If we don't do it, somebody else will do it. So we have to definitely take up that initiative. So thank you so much, Pattabhi sir. Really, it was a wonderful thing. Just listening to you has always been a great pleasure of mine, and today was no less. And thank you for taking time out of your schedule. And it's a Sunday. We still had more than 400 participants who were, listening it on an average basis. And Panaraj sir has also joined in, of course, our dynamic chairman from Madurai. So thank you, DC. And thank you all the viewers for joining in today. A big thanks to Pattabhi sir, who spent almost an hour answering the question and answers. So hope you all stay safe, stay home, and follow the latest updates of the lockdown. We will give you further updates of our going forward programs as well.
Thank you. Thank you all. Thank you, Pattabhi Raman sir, for your Mann Ki Baat today.
Thank you. Thank you. I will